Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm going to share with you guys what I know and kind of what I've been taught about gestational diabetes. Recently I have been diagnosed with gestational diabetes, and so I thought I'd make this video for you guys. Maybe you have it, or you know somebody who has it, or you're just really curious and kind of want to know more. So I thought I would kind of share with you guys what I've learned so far and just kind of how I've been living. So if you want to learn more, then stay tuned. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what gestational diabetes is. If you want to read more on it, I will link down the Canadian Diabetes Association website. They'll be able to explain everything. I just don't want to make this video too long. So if you don't know what it is, then definitely click the down bar, or definitely look in the description bar down below, because I'm going to leave you some information there. And so I was diagnosed a few days ago. That's when my results came in, and that is when they gave me the phone call and I learned that I had gestational diabetes. And so how they find out if you have it, it is tested throughout everybody. Now, I can't speak for everyone. Maybe where you live, they don't test you for this. But I live in Ontario, and so where I live in Ontario, they test you about the end of your second trimester, beginning of your third trimester, because that's when it's really important to know if you have gestational diabetes or not. And so what they do is, or at least what happened in my experience, is my OB had me go to the hospital, and I had to drink, basically it was corn syrup. It was orange. I thought it tasted pretty good, but I know there are some people that don't like the taste of it. And they did a urine sample, and then they had to wait an hour after I drank this beverage, and that's when they did blood testing on me, and that's how they figured it out. So after I got the results, I met up with a dietitian and a nurse, and they just kind of explained to me what is happening, what is going on, what I need to do now, kind of thing, so that I'm healthy and baby's healthy and that there are no complications for the rest of my pregnancy. So the first person I talked to when I got to the hospital was the nurse, and so what she did was she gave me my glucose reader, and this is something that I have to do 5 times a day. It is a needle, so if you know somebody with diabetes, you know that they have to check their glucose level, and it's kind of the same thing. So I'm not going to show you the needle part, but this is what mine looks like on the inside. So I have my needles, I have the glucose reader cards, which is what I have to insert into the reader. I also have what I put the needle in, and here is my glucose reader as well. And so this is what I have to do in the morning when I wake up, an hour after breakfast, an hour after lunch, an hour after dinner, and before I go to bed. And what you do is you prick the tip of your finger, not the top, but that you want where the squishy part is. So on the sides or here, but not on the top, because that's where it's going to hurt more. And there are different depth levels of your reader. So I use a 3. I found the 2 was not working for me. I am going to mention that for my doctor. But it goes all the way up to a 7. You don't need a 7. She doesn't even like using the word depth, but it's essentially how it's going in deeper to your skin. But for me, she recommended a 2, but I'm using a 3. And so what I do is I have to prick my finger. They don't recommend, obviously, you pricking the same finger all the time. Definitely use your other fingers. And then I get enough blood. I put my glucose reader in. I do that afterwards because I was having complications of not having enough blood on my glucose reader and having to re-prick my finger all over again. So I make sure there's enough blood on my finger. I use the other fingers to put my glucose reader in, give it a couple seconds, and when it's ready, then I will put my finger up to the glucose reader so it can draw the blood from the tip of my finger and is able to tell me a reading. So what the nurse wanted was it to be a 5 or under in the morning, first thing when I wake up. And they wanted the number on my glucose reader to be a 7 or down for the rest of the day, and so far it has been. So that is something that I have to do 5 times a day. And, oh, 1 second. And then afterwards, she wants me logging it in my book, and this is what my doctor's going to look at. And if it's ever higher than it's supposed to be, then I'm to write down what I ate so that they can figure out why my blood sugar level was so high. Another thing that I have to do is I have to do this in the morning, and these are keto sticks. So if you have a pool or you know somebody has a pool, they have to check the levels of their chlorine. This is kind of the same idea, except instead of putting this in your pool, you are essentially urinating on it every morning. So it's the first pee of the morning, not throughout the night, but when you wake up. And the darker the color, you don't want it to be dark, is what I'm trying to say. You want it to be a lighter color. So it can be negative, trace, or small. And so if it's negative, I put an N on my paperwork, T for trace, and S for small. And essentially what it is it's letting my doctor know if I'm having what I ate for snack the night before, because I just might not be having enough and I need to have something more so that I'm not waking up hungry in the morning, because essentially baby is eating 24 hours a day and you're sleeping, and so you never want to be in that starvation mode, never want to wake up super hungry. So that's kind of what these are for. I'm sure after these are done, because I think it comes with 50 strips. I can't see my doctor wanting me to keep with this as long as the most part staying low, and so far it has. Then I can't see him wanting me to do more of that. But that is essentially what I talked about with the nurse. So any questions I had from her, I talked to her, and you know, any concerns I had. So, you know, how does this affect the baby? How does this affect me? And everything that, any of those kind of questions, I am going to put in the down bar below with the website, just because I don't want, like I said, I don't want this video to be so long and boring. So this is what I got for free. I have benefits in Canada. So my keto sticks were free, but my extra glucose readers were not, and same with my needles. But overall, I paid $21 if you were curious, which I don't think is a lot. And she didn't charge me for my glucose reader, and my glucose reader already had some glucose sticks and the needles already, but it wasn't going to be enough to last me a week or anything, just a few days until I saw the doctor, which I did the next day. And sometimes you will see the doctor and talk to the nurse and dietitian on the same day, but it takes a few more hours because you're doing it all at once. So depending on what his availability is and what your availability is, you might have it done on the same day. So that is kind of what I discussed with the nurse. And then later on that day, I stopped at the pharmacy and I got this bucket. And this is where I put all my needles. This is where I dispose them. And then when it gets to this line, I bring it to the pharmacy and they will dispose of them. And then this is what he gave me. It's just like it hasn't been used, but it's a pill bottle that they would use obviously to put a prescription in. And this is what I bring with me at work, because I do have to check my blood sugar at work once a day. And then I just put the needle in here and I bring it home. Just because this is just not practical to carry at work and keep at work. So I just keep this with me. And yeah, that is everything for part one. Another thing too that the dietitian gave me was just kind of like a letter to give to my boss. She never made me pay for it. So I don't know if you even call it like a medical note. I know sometimes people want it, or a doctor's note. I know some employers want that. And I know that if you want a doctor's note from pharmacies and things like that, and doctors, usually it costs a little bit of money. But this was just stating that I do need to check my glucose levels throughout the day and be eating every 2 to 3 hours, and that my employer needs to accommodate that. So it's fine. I work with children, so I kind of just eat when they have their snack, because something they will want you to do is eat every 2 to 3 hours, which I was kind of doing before, so it's not really too new for me. But that is everything when it comes to kind of the basics and how to get started, and where you go, like what to do when you first get it. So this is kind of like the medical stuff behind gestational diabetes. Like I said, I will link the website below, so anything you need to know. It's a good website. It's, like I said, it's a Canadian Diabetes Association, so it's not Wikipedia or anything like that. It is, like, you know, an actual site with you know, real facts. So it's not the American site. I am Canadian, so that's why I'm linking down the Canadian Diabetes Association site. But yeah, that is everything I kind of talked to with the nurse. And next week's video, you are going to see me talk about the dieting part and kind of what to look for and things like that, because that is just as important. And that goes hand in hand with obviously checking your blood sugar and things like that. So I hope this video wasn't too long and boring for you guys, and it kind of gave you an idea of what people with gestational diabetes have to do. And yeah, I will see you guys in next week's video talking about my nutrition. So yeah, talk to you later. Bye.